We've got a fantastic sit down with the Sables captain Hilton Mudariki, leading the Sables throughout an amazing 2024. They played a total of 7 tests, unbeaten throughout the year. So we can call them the Invincibles, right? Invincibles. But obviously, I know for a lot of people, the highlight is lifting the Rugby Africa Cup. For me, it was beating Namibia. That monkey had been on our back.
Finish and clap.
Finish and clap, but most recently, they ended their tour, their year with a tour of the Middle East and Asia. They did have wins over the UAE and South Korea, and there's a lot of excitement, a lot of players that have been blooded in. But let's start here. Hilton, good morning. Thank you for joining us and waking up. I know you've been on the plane, you've been traveling, you probably just wanted to rest, but we appreciate you getting up and spending time with us. But before we start, congratulations, first of all, on the amazing year that you've had as the Sables, as the captain, but most importantly, on reaching your 50th cap against South Korea. How did that feel? You know, it's not a lot of players that get to reach that milestone.
True. Firstly, Touch, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's always good to pop into your breakfast show. It was great. Great experience for me personally, obviously reaching that milestone. I think when I first started playing for Sables, 1 test was enough for me. I was very happy with that. But then to get to 50 is a dream come true. As you said, very hard. Not many people get there, especially if you're playing 4 to 5 test matches a year. It's very, very difficult. If you look at a tier 1 team, so your South Africans, your New Zealands, they're playing 10, 11 games a year. So by their 10th year, if barring injuries and things like that, you're clocking up 100. So for me to get to 50 and to do it in the way that we did was awesome.
All right, and obviously 2024 has been a great year. I think I'll bring in Chief later on. But for you, like I've touched on my highlights. What were the highlights for you when you look back on the year as an individual, and then maybe as a leader of the team?
I think as an individual, this is probably, personally for me, probably one of the best years of rugby that I've played, the most I've enjoyed. Just going out there and just expressing myself and not really putting a lot of pressure on myself, but just enjoying what we're trying to achieve, especially with the new coaching staff coming in. Very chilled, very free-flowing, allowed us to play the game that we wanted to play and express ourselves as individuals. So I must give credit to the coaches for allowing me to do that. And then as a team, definitely the big one, beating Namibia, man. This is my 11th year of playing rugby for the Sables, and to do it now after 11 years of trying and not being able to do it, just to get, as you said, that monkey off the back was truly awesome. To get people to believe that it's possible, that we can do it, and even us as players, for us to believe that we actually can beat these guys. So that was the biggest one for me.
Chief, I know you were following some of the matches throughout the year.
I was outside of traveling for them, my friend. That's how crazy I was this year.
Can we cut him out of the shot, please? It's not about you, man.
No, but I'm saying this is how good they were. So much that we actually had to say, you know what, guys, I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to go and watch these guys. They're doing amazing work. But Hilton, there's a moment there this year. And as much as the year has been really great, I think the coming in of the new technical team, there was a bit of a downward spiral, even in confidence. How did you pick yourself up from there? Because I remember then in that Zambia friendly period, things were not really looking very bright. They were sort of bleak, But how did you pick yourself up there?
I think for us that was a great. Those two games, the Zambia internationals, were good for us in terms of just building our confidence and knowing that we can win. I think if you look at the last couple of years, we've been playing in the Currie Cup and we've been playing Super Sport Challenge, playing against South African teams that are fully professional, that are training day in, day out, whereas we're kind of bringing people in together to try and make things work, and we hadn't experienced the win. So for us to get over that hurdle against Zambia, a very tough game, but just to get over that, it started making us believe that, we can actually win. And then the second Zambia game came, also tight, tested our character. We managed to get through it right at the end. And I think that stood us in good stead going into Uganda, going into Namibia, where, the Uganda game also very tough. But because we had gone through that before, through those tough times, that we knew we can always get the victory. So I think as much as it wasn't, people thinking, guys, how are we losing to, or becoming close to losing to Zambia and things like that. I think that kind of helped us.
It was like a wake-up call or something.
Definitely, to build confidence. And it definitely stood us in good stead going forward.
Speaking of confidence, you've played some confident rugby this year. We've seen you scoring a bit more tries. But I think if we were to circle back maybe 18 to 24 months ago, there were probably even conversations that you probably caught wind of where people were saying, you know what, Hilton, what can he still offer in the team? Sometimes, you were coming off the bench. There were questions about should he still be the captain? Do you remember that period? And how were you able to pull yourself out of that and get to this space now where we're celebrating your 50th cap and we're like, what were you thinking? What were we thinking?
Yeah, obviously, in a player's career, you're gonna have ups and downs. People are gonna say what they want to say. Everyone has an opinion, but I think for me, what kind of helped me to get over that hurdle was just the people around me. So great teammates, great coaching staff who still believed in me, who still saw something in me, and that was the main thing. And I just needed to just kind of put beside those comments that were being said, and obviously they're in your face. With social media these days, it's literally in your face the whole time. But because I had such a great leadership group, great teammates, great coaching staff, that they built my confidence up and allowed me to play the game that I've been playing this year.
And speaking about teammates and the coaching stuff, we've seen quite a few players coming in, not only from the junior Sables, but even guys who were playing Super Rugby. I think Ian Pryor, Carl Goodwin, or some of those. And I think we're even getting more and more players based in South Africa are committing to come and play for the Sables. In terms of having that, what has that done in terms of where you want us to go as a rugby nation?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great to have those guys that have played at the highest level. And I think what it does, it brings certain amounts of professionalism within our setup. So you have guys that are coming through from the under-20s, seeing the things that Carl Godwin does, that an Ian Pride does in the week, preparing for a test match. They can pick up on things like that. And that's what we're trying to get to. I always say to the guys that professionalism isn't just getting paid. It's what you're doing, how you're preparing in order to be the best that you can be on a Saturday when you're playing. And a lot of people don't see that. The supporters just see the Saturday.
We see the tries.
You see the Saturday, but you don't see how if you take the week back. We start on a Sunday night. So on a Sunday night, you're analyzing your opposition. You're looking at strengths and weaknesses. As small things as how does Titch step? Oh, he's strong off his right foot, so I need to watch out for that. Little things like that. And then as you build up into the week, you're becoming more and more confident because you've analyzed them, you've seen the picture already. So when you're in the game, you kind of know, okay, I've seen this before and I know how to defend it. I've seen this before, I know how to attack. So that's the kind of professionalism that these guys are bringing into the setup, which is great for us.
All right, earlier this week you just got back from that tour of the Middle East and Asia. You guys played UAE and South Korea. When you think of rugby nations, it's not the first thing that pops into your mind. But what are some of the takeaways from that tour, from a group perspective, and even from just where your guys are trying to go as we build towards qualification for Australia?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for us in that tour, and Coach Pete said it before we left, was building squad depth. We've seen how important it is in world rugby, how important it is to have depth within your squad. If you look at a Springbok side, they can chop and change teams every single week and still manage to get results. And that's what we're trying to get to. So that if Uganda comes next year and we pick up 2 or 3 injuries, we're not throwing guys in the deep end. They've had an experience, they've been there, done it before, and then them just slotting into the system is going to be much easier than just picking someone off and saying, listen, come do a job for us. So that's been the main takeaway. And then if you look at the games that we played, the UAE, obviously we ran away with it, but I think the most important thing for us in that game was how we stuck to structure and how we managed to play our game, even though the game got very loose. And then also, there's a lot of work that needs to be done within our bomb squad. It's very evident. We get off to flying starts and then we allow teams to come back in. And when you're going into an Africa Cup, a World Cup qualifier, you can't afford to do that. If a game is dead and buried, you need to really put it away. So that's a big thing for us and a big work on going into 2025.
What will be happening there? Because, actually, to be honest, we are the fans, right? We sit here and we watch you guys. and you give us all sorts of palpitations, you know, because you start up very well, right bang, and then you're leading comfortably, and then the next thing we're grasping, clutching at straws to win the match. Like, what happens there with that lapse of concentration? Perhaps just take us through the
I think
game.
it's I think it comes down to experience. You know, we've got a lot of young guys that have been coming off the bench, and this is why Coach Pete had said we want to build squad depth. So those guys that are on 1 or 2 caps, we're trying to get them to 6, 7, 8 caps by the time Africa Cup comes, so that when they're slotting into the team, whether they're starting or coming off the bench, you know, they know their role. It's clear, and they know exactly what they need to do in order to achieve what we're trying to achieve. You know, and I keep going back to tier 1 teams. If you look at their benches, you know, they've got maybe 200, 300, 400 caps that are sitting on a bench, you know, and then the guys that are starting are maybe on like 600, 700 caps. So if you put that all together, it's just the experience that allows teams to say, okay, cool, we've got a good start. How do we finish it off? You need people to come in and to know their roles and to know exactly what they need to do. So it's a work in progress. We know we need to fix it. It's clear. I mean, even in that South Korea game, you know, we had guys saying, "You guys almost gave us heart attacks."
you almost
I promise you, even the guys that were sitting on the bench, we almost had heart attacks as well. You know, so it's a work in progress. But you know what? I think we've definitely got a lot more out of this tour that we can take into 2025, knowing certain boxes that we need to tick.
I picked up something, especially on this tour of the Middle East and Asia, and I want to maybe try and pick your mind and find out whether it was coincidence or it's been intentional. You know, traditionally, when people look at Zimbabwean rugby, it's all about the running rugby, all that, and you know, that's been a staple of our game.
Yes.
But I saw us doing more phases, trying to use the forwards more. Is that something that was intentional from the technical team or you guys as players?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that we've always wanted to work on. You know, just have that extra bow, you know, in the back pocket. And I think for us, a lot of teams have analysed us and said, okay, Zimbabweans, runners. You know, they will run. They've got speed. So we needed to add in something extra. You know, something that a team might not expect, or something that we don't really show, but then in a game we can just kind of show, okay, this is what we can do. And the biggest thing for us has been our forwards. I think in the last couple of years, we haven't really had a strong pack. We've always relied on our backs. But now we're starting to rely on our forwards. A strong scrum, a strong line-out. If you have a good set piece in international rugby, you know that you're more than likely going to do well. And that's been the key thing for us. So I know the coaches are still working hard on improving that scrum. But we saw that our lineouts were very successful. Our scrums in the first halves of both games were very, very good. So it's just about making sure that second half we stay on top of it.
No, because I used to get nervous, I'll tell you. Whenever I would get a line out, I'm like,
oh, no.
good. but I think, we've criticized the lapse in concentration in the later parts, but I think when it comes to the forward play, particularly the set pieces, I think we've improved
greatly,
drastically. And I think if we want to be competitive, that's an area we need to just maintain.
100%. And I must give credit to Coach Pete for bringing in specialists who focus on that specific area. So we've got a scrum coach in Coach Joel who works very hard with the scrums, and then Coach Gert who works with the line-out. And we know Coach Gert's CV, you know, won a World Cup with the Springboks, coached Ireland, won Grand Slams, won Super Rugby. So, you know, we know that we're in very good hands with those guys.
All right, and let's talk about the future. Obviously, 2024 is done and dusted. But we're looking forward. 1990, right? That's the last time we were at a Rugby World Cup.
91, I think, 91,
We recently moved up to number 27 in the world, just one behind Namibia. I think that has to be our first target. Overtake.
Get across the line.
In case that wasn't part of the targets, we're giving you the target. Overtake. We need to be number 2 on the continent. But going into 2025, obviously, I know the Rugby Africa Cup this year has greater significance. But what are the plans in the build-up to that, and what are you guys hoping to achieve throughout the year as I want to go back down under, man?
I think no, we're not going to make any secret out of it. That's the biggest one, qualifying for a World Cup. But for us, it's just about the process. You know, starting from January, getting into a pre-season, working hard. I know that the union are working very hard to get us test matches in order to prepare us for the Africa Cup. So I'm sure we'll have a couple of home games. I know they're working on a couple of home games to bring the rugby back to our fans, allow them to watch us, and then head into the Africa Cup, where we hopefully will be returning with the trophy again and that ticket to Australia.
Please, no rapid charge again. just get it done. And get it done as fast as we can.
100%.
Hilton, thank you very much for making time and wish you on the Sabres. I think we love our rugby and I think you guys have treated us this year. Long may it continue.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. And thank you so much to all Zimbabweans that have supported us throughout the year. We've really felt it. You guys have been our 24th man, during good times, bad times, and we appreciate you. Continue to support us.
Konapo, ipapo, ba ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294.